And nearly $500 million in state-owned medical equipment sitting in boxes in warehouses. Take a look at just some of what's collecting dust at warehouses in Geneva and elsewhere. You paid for it, but an audit by the Office of the State Controller found there's no plan for what to do with it. In my investigation, I pored over that audit to find out why your tax dollars went for all that equipment that was apparently never needed. New York State rushed to get its hands on as much life-saving medical equipment as possible after the COVID pandemic hit in the spring of 2020. It was in high demand during a time of great unknowns. But an audit by the State Controller's Office has found that 5 years later, almost all of it remains untouched. Items like ventilators, X-ray machines, CPAP machines, and oxygen tanks. New York taxpayers spent nearly $453 million on 247,000 pieces of equipment. But only 3 of the purchased items were ever distributed. The rest remains unused in boxes, stacked on shelves and stored in warehouses around the state, under the care of the Department of Health. This photograph is from a warehouse in Geneva.
Right now, we're paying costs to store this equipment. And another finding that we had in the audit was that a lot of the equipment is missing required maintenance to keep it in good working order should another medical emergency arise.
In fact, state auditors found that 90% of the equipment recommended for preventive maintenance was past due.
There is supposed to be the maintenance, as we said, but we found that the contractor that was doing that contract expired a couple of years ago.
We have 53,000 hospital beds available.
The audit found that during the pandemic, then Governor Andrew Cuomo went around the Department of Health and took over the ordering of medical supplies in an effort to speed up the process. In a statement to News 10 NBC, a DOH spokesperson distanced the agency from the purchases but defended its stewardship of the items. Quote, "The department regularly reviews and maintains all equipment currently available in the emergency medical stockpile, takes any actionable measures as appropriate, and maintains transparent documentation of these measures." You've read the audit. So what was your takeaway from the audit?
I was stunned, quite frankly, by the audit.
Senator Pam Helming doesn't fault state leaders for their efforts to address the pandemic, but says she'd like to know why little has been done since to offload the unneeded equipment.
I know I have constituents in my rural areas that would benefit from being able to use that equipment, and it's just stockpiled in warehouses.
In 2021, a committee recommended keeping about 50,000 of the stockpiled items, and the health department surveyed hundreds of healthcare providers across the state to gauge interest in the rest.
And they found interest in approximately 25,000 pieces of equipment, but there hasn't been the follow-up to make sure that that equipment is delivered to the facilities that were interested.
Helming says given taxpayers have already paid for the equipment, it's time it's turned over to those who can use it.
I think the state should work with their counties and find out who could benefit, which counties need those types of resources, and allocate it to the counties.
I checked with both URMC and Rochester Regional Health to see if they ever expressed interest in any of the surplus medical equipment. A spokesperson from URMC says Strong Hospital did fill out the survey outlining items they could use, but then never had any follow-up. A spokesperson from RRH says they aren't sure if they got that survey, but did confirm they didn't receive anything. Both say they'd still be interested if the opportunity arises.